let me go across to our guest who's joining us at this point in time. Mr. Madhavan Narayanan is a senior journalist. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Narayan. The dates have been announced. This is what we all were waiting for, and it is going to be a battleground that will be, of course, being witnessed in these 5 states. How do you react?
Well, nothing surprising about the dates. Actually, they seem to have been made in a staggered manner that suggests lots of elbow room for maybe the Prime Minister or senior politicians to, at the national level, to campaign in state elections. And this is very much in line with what was expected. And obviously, Rajasthan seems to be more important in terms of Rajasthan and Telangana in terms of being at what we could call the slog overs of the semi-final elections. To that extent is, sort of well ordered and expected in terms of dates. What has struck me more is the level of disclosures required by political leaders and political parties on things like alleged criminal background, or even something like, it's almost like a budgetary statement they are linking to manifestos where fiscal responsibility related disclosures have to be made, which is very unusual because it is usually not expected of political parties to disclose in advance some of the tricks of the trade in fiscal management. And therefore, this seems very quite strange, and it might become a campaign point in this election because, for instance, if the so-called freebies, I don't like the word freebies personally, I prefer to call them vote bees because they are done for voting, so nothing is free. So, but there is populism, as he mentioned, populism ka tadka, the chief election commissioner said. If this is the case, then a lot of political parties will be hard-pressed to explain some of these things. Some of them may even challenge this notion. But just as in the stock market, SEBI wants companies to make disclosures, the chief election commissioner wants increasing disclosures. Some of them are forward-looking disclosures, which are usually not expected and they become controversial. The other notable thing, which is not properly headlined but needs to be, is he mentioned enforcement agencies and their role, need for coordination between them in the process of election. In the backdrop of enforcement directorate and CBI and income tax agencies, these enforcement agencies being politically controversial for raids and actions regarding opposition parties, we will have to wait and watch whether there will be any enforcement related activities taking place in the name or as part of the election monitoring, in which case I expect political controversies. And the way things are, if elections are featuring a heated campaign by various parties, some of those disclosures demanded by the Election Commission, as well as some of the roles played by the enforcement agencies, will become part of a very heated campaign. So I'm expecting a very heated sort of elections. There will be allegations of extra disclosure. There will be imagery based on data of disclosure or inadequacy of disclosures. So let's see, but it looks like we're going to see a lot of heat in the winter elections.
Right, Mr. Narayanan, stay on with us. Your words are appreciated. Let me go across to my colleague Samarendra, who is joining us at this point in time from Chhattisgarh. Samarendra, छत्तीसगढ़ की बात की जाए तो 2 चरणों में इसकी इलेक्शंस होने वाली है। एक होगा 7 नवंबर को और दूसरा 17 नवंबर को। इस पे जानकारी दीजिए।
जी देखिए, 2 चरणों में इलेक्शन 2018 में भी हुए थे, जो बस्तर नक्सल इफेक्टेड एरिया है, और इसके अलावा राजनांदगांव के कुछ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है जो नक्सल इफेक्टेड हैं। यही कारण है कि छत्तीसगढ़ में 2 फेज में इलेक्शन होने वाले हैं। जैसा कि आपने तारीख के बारे में बताया, 7 और 17 नवंबर को कमोबेश इसी तरह की अपेक्षा जो है वो की जा रही थी। लास्ट इलेक्शन भी 2 फेज में हुआ था और इस बार भी ऐसी उम्मीद थी कि 2 चरणों में चुनाव होंगे और उसकी तारीखें जो है वो घोषित हो गई हैं 7 और 17 नवंबर को। और जो बस्तर की 12 सीटें हैं, इसके अलावा राजनांदगांव जिले की कुछ सीटें हैं जहां पर नक्सल प्रभाव माना जाता है, फोर्स की आवश्यकता होती है, फोर्स को डिप्लॉयमेंट के साथ पोलिंग बूथ की तैयारी को लेकर जो समय लगता है, यही वजह है कि 2 फेज में यहाँ पर चुनाव हो रहे हैं। जो मैदानी इलाके हैं वहां पर 17 नवंबर को चुनाव होंगे। इस तरह से छत्तीसगढ़ की 90 विधानसभा सीटों के लिए जो है वो 2 फेज में चुनाव होंगे। और जैसा कि लगातार पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज भी तैयारी कर रही हैं, बीजेपी ने अपने कैंडिडेट 21 सीटों पर डिक्लेयर की है, बाकी सीटों पर भी अब उनकी तैयारी जो है वो दिखाई दे रही है। दोनों पार्टियां इसी बात का इंतजार कर रही थी कि मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट यानी इलेक्शन की तारीख की घोषणा हो, उसके बाद वो प्रत्याशी अपने तय करेंगे। और इस तरह से अब उम्मीद ये है कि अगले 1 महीने का समय अब फर्स्ट फेज के लिए 1 महीने से भी कम का समय बचा है, तो एक तरह से अब जो है जोर शोर से यहाँ पर पॉलिटिकल गतिविधि जो है वो दिखाई देगी। जी
जी समरेंद्र, धन्यवाद जुड़ने के लिए हमारे साथ, तेरी तमाम जानकारी हमें देने के लिए। Let me go across to Mr. Narayanan, who is still with us at this point in time. Mr. Narayanan, very important thing that quite interesting that needs to be noted here also, which has been announced by the Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Rajiv Kumar here, that around 60 lakh first-time voters from 18 to 19 years onwards will participate in the elections of the 5 states. What impact do you think this is going to be if we compare the elections from 2018, the numbers versus this time in 2023?
Full voters in proportion to the overall electorate to get a truly accurate picture. But in general, 2 things happen. The youths being first-time voters tend to increase the turnout because they want to exercise their power. And there is a belief which is not easily verifiable that the first-time voters always vote anti-income, against the incumbency to realize and show off their old their voting power or their political power, much like children making noises when they learn to speak. So that is something we need to watch out for. But it also means that some of the campaign elements will become very critical because something very, very interesting is that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been speaking against freebies on paper. But if you look at what has been happening in Madhya Pradesh, there is very little to distinguish between the BJP and the Congress in terms of poll promises, and that same goes for Chhattisgarh. I won't say that about Rajasthan because Rajasthan, I'm yet to see a BJP campaign on a very spirited level. But because there's an incumbent Congress government in Chhattisgarh and Congress is aggressive in Madhya Pradesh, there is a lot of populism from both sides, a lot of budgetary issues being flagged. So to that extent, we will be watching out for how the youths are wooed with a lot of these schemes that might attract attention. Because the important point to note is that some of the old issues related to both, Hindutva related vote that the BJP likes to emphasize on is not very hot in these 3 states of the Hindi belt that are going to polls now because unlike Uttar Pradesh where there's a very high Muslim population, it's much less here. So some of these issues will be increasingly focused on economic and aspirational issues, especially of the youth. And to that extent, these youthful voters will have to be wooed with that extra mile of campaigning, and we'll be watching out for that. And last but not the least, a lot of it will also depend on the social media because increasingly the younger voters are being wooed through social media campaigns and influencers and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I'll be watching out for what I call unconventional campaigning methods.
Right. All right, Mr. Narayanan, stay on with us. Let me go across to my colleague Gajraj, who is joining us from Rajasthan. Gajraj, Rajasthan goes to polls on 23rd of November. Of course, there have been massive campaigning that has been going on by the BJP and the Congress. What do you think this time the people will be voting for? Because November 23 is the date that has been inked.
Yes, the date is November 23, and the results will be out on December 3. And the people here in Rajasthan are still speculative, because this is the first time that Rajasthan elections are going to be a lot more interesting than the past elections, because Rajasthan has a history of the government's not repeating here. But right now the schemes of Gehlot government are wooing people right now, and at the same time the BJP is also not leaving any stone unturned to go forward with the campaign. But the only thing that the BJP lacks is the the main CM face that is going to lead the BJP campaign here in Rajasthan. So the dark clouds still hover over that decision over the saffron party's call. And right now the BJP is slamming the Gehlot government over the advertisements that have been placed here in Rajasthan, the billboards, the big billboards that have been placed by the private firm that has been hired by the government here. And they are saying that this is the time that Gehlot government would come out of the advertisements and show the real face here in Rajasthan. So it's the polls here are going to be really interesting, because there are two sides going side by side in Rajasthan. Studio.
Right, Gajraj, thank you for bringing us the details there, focusing on Rajasthan that goes on polls on November 23rd. Also, other states as well. It is going to be a heated battleground when it comes to the assembly elections. All the dates have been announced by the Election Commission a while ago. In Chhattisgarh, it is set to happen in two phases. First on November 7, while the second on November 17. Let me go across to our guest, Mr. Narayanan, back. Mr. Narayanan, if we talk about the Congress, their internal party meeting is also underway, and it is eyeing a return of power in Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh as well, and they are also planning a win in Madhya Pradesh. All of this is set one aside, but this is also looking like a semi-final for the 2024 mega general elections.
Yes, I think one thing which I forgot to mention earlier is this whole issue of caste census, which is being made as a mainstream plank by the Congress in a coordinated way, because they already carried out a survey through an ally, Janata Dal United in Bihar. But if you see, even Rajasthan is talking about it, and this is being made a national issue. Both old pension scheme and the caste census will become very central to the Congress strategy, because caste plays a very important role all across India, particularly in the Hindi belt. And to that extent, we'll be, the anti-incumbency plank that the Congress wants to use in Madhya Pradesh will also be used for pro-incumbency fortification. But the Indian society as a whole, this is a slightly big picture view I have, is going through a
मैं राजनीतिक दलों से ये अपील करना चाहता हूँ कि मध्य प्रदेश शांति का टापू है, शालीनता का प्रतीक है। इसे चुनाव हम जरूर लड़ें, लेकिन चुनाव लड़ते समय हम व्यक्तिगत आरोप प्रत्यारोप उनसे बचें। ये शत्रुता नहीं है, तो विचारधाराओं का संघर्ष है। कौन सी पार्टी आनी चाहिए, सब शालीनता के साथ बड़प्पन से अपनी अपनी बात कहे, सरकार अपनी बात कहे, प्रतिपक्ष अपनी बात कहे, और बहुत अच्छे माहौल में मध्य प्रदेश का चुनाव हो, ये मेरी सबसे अपील है। कैसा रहेगा?
All right, Mr. Narayanan, we had to halt you there for a bit because we were getting the first reaction from Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Sir, please finish your thoughts. We are running short of time. Conclude your reactions there.
Semi-final elections, the caste census has been thrown like a gauntlet by Congress towards the BJP. So that will set the ground for the 2024 general elections. And therefore, both, which is why I'm very keenly noting the Election Commission's remarks on fiscal responsibility, which is an unusual sort of an Election Commission approach, which basically seems to have be giving ammunition to the BJP to against some of the populist schemes announced by the Congress and other opposition parties. So, as I said, the heat that will begin this winter will carry on right through to the next summer. But it's quite clear to me that although the BJP claims that it's not a semi-final election and Mr. Modi has his own appeal as a central leader, it's quite clear that these state elections will determine the pattern and the mood for the general elections in 2024.
Absolutely, Mr. Madhavan Narayanan, appreciate you joining us and giving up your reactions and speaking with us on this important announcement that has been made by the Election Commission. Of course, all eyes are going to be on the battleground of the 5 states that will be going to polls starting November 7th. And of course, the verdict will be on the 3rd of December. We will be, of course, tracking in all the details. But let me once again get to the dates that have been now announced by the EC there. The Election Commission has announced poll dates in the 5 states. The polls in Chhattisgarh is set to happen in 2 phases. The first phase is going to be on 7th of November, while the second phase will be on 17th of November. Now, talking about Telangana, it will be going into polls on November 30th, while the date of poll in Rajasthan will be November 23. Now, in Mizoram, the polls will be conducted on 7th of November, while in Madhya Pradesh, the polls will be conducted on 17th of November. Now, counting of the votes in all the 5 states will be done on December 3rd.